Are you misusing God's power, thus completely missing his power? Welcome to the Daily Devo. I am Vince Miller. This week we are reading through 1 Samuel chapter 4. I've titled this chapter, Misusing Divine Power. Misusing Divine Power. Today I'm going to read the key verse from this chapter, which happens to be the last verse, verse 22. It states, I'll get to that later, and she said, "The glory has departed from Israel, for the ark of God has been captured." This verse right here is the shocking moment of the chapter. It's a statement of national stupidity. Israel made foolish choices thinking they could harness God's power for personal means, which led to the capture of the ark of God. And for those who might be unfamiliar, the ark was a sacred chest containing the Ten Commandments that rested in the temple, symbolizing God's presence and his power. Yet, humanity has long been intrigued by God's power. Even if we don't fully comprehend the intricacies of religion, we know that God by nature is considered all-powerful. The idea that God's power could somehow be harnessed for our benefit is undeniably attractive. The thought of this takes me back to some of those old classic Indiana Jones films, like Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Last Crusade, where notorious explorers are allured by the proposition that the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail hold power that one could harness for personal pleasure and personal means. For many, God's power is exactly what draws them to God. I mean, consider the businessmen burdened by anxieties and challenges. In desperation, he comes to God, praying that God's power will give him success or prevent the success of one of his competitors. If God's power can do that for him, then the businessman sees value in God. Or maybe consider the unbeliever who is terminally ill. Even though they have lived a prayerless life, their illness brings them to one of those Hail Mary prayers for God's healing power. And if God can offer them that, then they see some value in God. And the applications of this twisted understanding of God's power are endless. I could give illustrations all day long, just like this, but this is exactly what the followers of God in Israel attempt to do in chapter 4. Believers attempt to harness the power of the ark of God for their own personal means, resulting in a mass casualty event of proportions that is catastrophic to the people of Israel. And that is what the woman in this text has learned. Catastrophically, her husband, who is Phinehas, by the way, her brother-in-law, who is Hophni, and her father-in-law, who is Eli, are all dead because they misunderstood and misused the power of God. This entire chapter warns everyone about the misuse of God's power for personal pleasure. Harnessing God's power, even in our fragilities, can be alluring, but it's fatal. We might even try to camouflage our attempt to harness his power behind a religious front. But still, this is fatally wrong. With that, here are the 6 topics that we will address in this chapter. Number 1, God's power is not our pleasure. Number 2, God's promises are powerfully fulfilled. Number 3, personal sin becomes a national crisis. Number 4, God's power is not your good luck charm. Number 5, God's power reveals godless corruption. And finally, number 6, God's judgment is painful for everyone. So get ready for a powerful chapter over the next 6 days where we will discover the God of all power. I love you guys. Get excited. I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.